Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are officially done with NFL Draft 2025. You guys follow me all weekend as we went over the first and second day of the draft. Unfortunately, I couldn't get online and talk about day three, but we did get a lot of great picks. So today we are going to be going over all 9 NFL draft picks by the Dallas Cowboys. I'll give you my thoughts on these players, whether or not I think they make the team, as well as how I think they will be a fit for the future of the roster. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. I see we got some views starting to come in. So thank you guys for tuning in. As you guys know, this is an interactive show. So be sure to get in the comments. Let us know what you guys think about the draft picks we made. Also, let us know how you feel about the direction of the team so far. Let me know who your favorite draft pick was, least favorite. I know we're going to get a lot of questions about why we didn't take a receiver. We'll touch base on that at some point. But in the meantime, we got a lot of great content for you guys tonight. So, as you guys know, a lot of you guys are watching from the DC4L Facebook group. So, for those of you who are not, be sure if you get a chance to go over to Facebook, check out DC4L and join the page. A lot of great dialogue, a lot of great conversation, a lot of great giveaways. Just an overall safe space for Cowboys fans to talk all things Dallas Cowboys. Also, DC4L has a YouTube channel. So if you guys want to help increase engagement on there, go over to youtube.com, find DC4L, hit that subscribe button. And you guys can also go find me on YouTube as well, Bluff City Cowboys. If you would go over there, hit that subscribe button for me as well to help me to get my engagement up. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. We got a couple of viewers that are watching right now, getting in the comments. First of all, we got Jeffrey Dunnigan, longtime watcher. You guys saw him on the show with me last Thursday and Friday. So he's a very knowledgeable Dallas Cowboys fan. Thank you, Jeffrey, for joining me both of those days. I really appreciated all your input. And we got Marty Vol. I hope I pronounced that right. But Marty, thank you for tuning in as well. We definitely got some really good picks. And tonight's show, we are going to go through all 9 of those picks. And I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. But as you know, this is an interactive show. So I would love to hear your thoughts as well. So we'll just basically go down the line from the first pick to the last pick according to where they were drafting at. Before we get started, I see those views are still going up, but we have not got any likes yet. So for those of you who are watching, let's get those likes to match those views. So if you are watching, be sure to hit that like button and also get in those comments. Let us know what you guys think about what we're talking about tonight. And just like Jeffrey said, let's get them subs up. I greatly appreciate you guys' support. I'm going to put my YouTube channel in the comments. So at some point during or after the show, if you could just take a few seconds to hit that button, hit that subscribe button, I'd greatly appreciate it. We got TNT Sports joining us. I'm assuming that's another podcaster. So TNT Sports, thank you for joining us. I see you're watching from YouTube. So as soon as the show is over, I'll be sure to go find you on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if I have not done so already. All right, guys. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it because we got a lot to talk about. And as you guys know, I don't like doing long, drawn-out shows. So I'm going to try to talk about all of these players in under an hour and a half. So, first round pick 12, Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama. Story franchise. A lot of great offensive linemen have come through that college. If you guys look at this picture, you see he has that C on his shoulder. So he was a team captain. You know, The Cowboys always emphasize having team captains. If you've listened to the interviews over the past couple of days, all you hear is them talk about his leadership and his ability to change the culture of the offensive line room. Now, when it comes to this player, I'm a little conflicted. Now, if you guys watch me on day 2 when I was with the UK Cowboys, before I say anything, I like the player. I like the player a lot. He's definitely gonna be a day 1 starter. He's definitely gonna be an upgrade from Cooper Beebe, Brock Hoffman, any of these guys that we brought in free agency so far. So I wanna get that out of the way first. This is going to be an A in terms of the player and the talent. The only issue I had with the pick was where he was taken. Now, if you look at the history of the draft and you think about guards who are taken in the top 15, you get names like Zach Martin, you get names like Zion Johnson, former Boston College player, went to the Chargers. You get names like Quentin Nelson, another Notre Dame guy, went to the Colts. You even think about Chris Lindstrom, again, another Boston College guy, went to Atlanta. When I hear those names, those were guys picked in the top 16. When I watched them in college, you can look at them and tell this guy's gonna make a couple All Pro. He's probably gonna make a Pro Bowl year 1. Now, while I think Tyler Booker is a good player, I don't see Pro Bowl year 1 type guy. Now, that could just me grading him on a hard curve, but to me, when I look at a team picking a guard at 12, I'm expecting a guy day 1 to come in and look like Tyler Smith does in year 2, 3. Now, again, that could be me, unrealistic expectations, but guards don't normally get drafted high in the first round. So when you see a guard that's drafted high, you usually expect the moon and the stars. And I don't see moon and the stars with him. I see a quality starting right guard, which is what we need. But at pick 12, I would expect something a little bit more sexy, a little bit flashy. So nothing against the player. I just at pick 12, I would expect either a more impact player at a more impact position. Now, unfortunately for us, this is not the draft where you can get a lot of impact players. I think if you looked at most people's boards, they only had 12, 11 to 13 first round grades throughout the whole draft. And we picked at 12. So if you go by the majority of the people who put together boards, by the time the Cowboys picked at 12, all the first round talent was gone. So you're basically just picking the best available at a position of need. And I feel like that's exactly what the Cowboys did. You look at the people who were available, you look at a position of need, and you take the most talented guy at a position of need. And that to me, that was Tyler Booker. So A plus for the player, B minus for where he was taken. If they would have found a way to trade back, I would have felt a lot better about the pick. Even if they didn't get full trade value, because I personally don't feel like this was a player who would have not been available at 15 or 18 if the team decided we're going to take a third or a fourth round pick to go back instead of the second round pick that most people normally pay to go up to 12. So if we could have got him plus extra third, this would have been a great pick to me. But to take him straight out at 12 just seems a little bit too rich for my blood. But let's talk about the player. As you guys know, I try to come on here as prepared as possible. So I'm not the type of person that's just going to watch highlight clips and tell you about a guy. I'm actually going to watch at least 2 to 3 games of every player just so I can give you a general idea of what I see. So if you look at my little chart right here, Um, Shouts out to Professor O. Had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. He blessed me with uh, a Google Drive link with at least 3 games for every player that we drafted. So shout out to Professor O. I think that link is publicly available. So if you guys get a chance after the show, go find Professor O on X, and I'm almost certain that he has that Google Drive link posted on his X page. All right, so um, Tyler Booker. So the games I watched: Wisconsin, Auburn, Georgia, LSU. I tried to watch all the games where I knew they had premier guys on the front line. Um, and all of these games played well. I think he only gave up 1 sack for the year. Um, he does a great job of sitting down on blocks. So what that means is if a guy tries to bull rush, he's able to sit down, lock in, and pretty much stonewall any defensive tackle. Um, he handles the bull rush very well. So there's not a lot of players in college. From what I saw, there were no players in college who could overpower him from a physicality standpoint. And when you're dealing with the interior lineman, either offensive or defensive, the number one problem most guys have is the difference in strength level between college and the NFL. So I know when you guys watch the combine, you hear guys benching 225, 25, 30, 35 times. Those are the combine guys. Those are not the defensive tackle for Arkansas or South Carolina. Not everybody is extremely strong in college. So it's not like they're always seeing premier talent. When they come in the NFL, everybody's benching 35 plus times. So there's going to be a difference in strength levels. But watching his tape, he appears to be strong enough to where the difference in strength level should not be overwhelming for him. So I do expect him to come in day one and be a decent starting guard. He handles the bull rush well. He has a lot of nastiness in his game. I know there was a viral link that went around when Micah Parsons interviewed Tyler Book after they made the pick to kind of get a feel for what type of player he was, and the answer he gave had Micah jumping out of his chair. That shows on tape. Whenever he blocks somebody, he tries to finish them. So we always like physicality. I know people talk about Brock Hoffman, and that's kind of what he brings. This kid brings the same thing. Um, Strong kid, great base, great center of gravity. Already has an above average knowledge of how to use his hands as a college player. So not a sexy pick, but a very safe pick. I wish we could have gotten it later, but I'm glad that we do have the player. Um, if you guys get a chance, go find the Cowboys draft show or just any Dallas Cowboys podcast and listen to interviews with Clayton Adams, our offensive coordinator, and listen to how he describes how he wants the offense to be. This kid fits perfectly into what they plan on doing. So kudos to them for making a nice, safe, solid pick. Now I'm surprised I haven't seen anybody talk about wide receivers yet. Um, I see we got John Crane joining us from Facebook. John, thank you for tuning in. We also got Jeff Pop joining us. Jeff Pop, thank you for tuning in also. All you guys join us from Facebook. Appreciate you joining us. Now, I'm shocked nobody's brought up wide receiver. Let me go ahead and just talk about wide receiver real quick, and then we'll move on to the next pick. A lot of people wanted us to take Matthew Golden. There were a lot of reports that we were looking at him. I personally never believed him. Um, if you listen to the interviews that Brian Schottenheimer made, it sounded like he was gonna pick Golden. I'll admit that. But when you think about Golden, Jeff Pop, you hit it right on the head. To me, he's too small to be a first round receiver. Second of all, when you look at the draft, it's not just about talent, it's also about production. And he did not produce to the level of a first round pick. Now, I just talked about Tyler Booker and how if we wouldn't have taken him at 12, how we took him at 12, he doesn't have the look of a guy we take at 12. Golden doesn't have the look of a receiver that you take at 12 also. I think he fell to 25 to Green Bay. That's about where he should have been drafted at. And um, when you look at his stats, and I'm gonna put it out there, and you can't say Tyreek Hill because that one is the anomaly. Name me a fast receiver who had little production in college, who was productive in the NFL. There's not many, if any. I can name you a long list of guys who were fast in college, didn't have good production, and didn't produce in the NFL. I can name you a bunch of those. But name me one or two fast guys, limited production in college, came in the NFL and was successful. We just signed Paris Campbell. That's a perfect example. Ran a 4.31, a little bit undersized. Production wasn't great at Ohio State. Drafted in the first round. Now we just picked him up off the scrap heap after being in the league only 4 years. Desmond Howard, that's a long way back, Jeff Pop. A very long way back. And Desmond Howard was a Heisman Trophy candidate. So that's not a good example of a guy who didn't produce in college. All right, so let's go to the second round because to me, the draft just kept getting better and better as we progressed. Second round, this was by far favorite pick of the draft. Donovan Easy, defensive end out of Boston College. Now, I know initially that the fan base was upset, and Jeff Pop saying that pick was a shock. The fan base was upset because they look and we got Micah. We just signed Fowler. We traded for the kid from New Orleans. We got Sam Williams. We got Marshawn Nealon. We got a pretty deep room of defensive ends. But I'm going to tell you guys like this. I said we drafted Tyler Booker too early. This kid stayed on the board way too long. You got to go and watch him in college. This kid is special in terms of traits as well as effort. And when I look at defensive ends, and Jeff Pop says he's not great against the run, that is absolutely not true. He was one of the best run defenders in college last year. If you look at his stats, he was top 3 in tackles for loss for 2 years, 2 out of 3 years in college. That's not a guy who's not good against the run. And for me personally, I don't judge defensive ends in college off of sacks because sacks are situational. Anybody can get sacks if they're on a good team. I judge players off of tackles for loss because if you're getting a lot of tackles for loss, that tells me that you're getting after it on first, second, and third down. If you're a guy who plays for a good team and you're up 20 points and it's 3rd and 9 and they know you're going to pass the ball, to me, it's easy for a guy to get sacks in that situation. But if it's 1st and 10 and they run the ball your way and you tackle the running back for a 2-yard loss, that's a lot harder to do. And when you lead college football in tackles for loss, as well as having 17 sacks, you're putting in a lot of work. And also, he had 80 tackles as a defensive end. He put up linebacker numbers in terms of tackles. So the guy is active. And these weren't down the field tackles either. These were at the line of scrimmage. So he knows how to manipulate offensive linemen to get in the backfield and make a lot of big plays. The games that I watched, Florida State, Michigan State, North Carolina, Missouri, This should have been a first round pick. Everyone had a first round pick, a first round grade for him. We were fortunate that he did fall to the second. I think a lot of people were drafting off of traits more than production, and also Boston College is not a premier school because it's not SEC, it's not sexy. So to me, we got a steal right here. And he can play opposite Micah. He can play on first downs because he knows how to get in the backfield. And some people are saying he's too small. Well, Tank is not that much bigger than him. And Tank is amazing at run defense. So I just don't understand how people can see his production and if you watch him play, think he can't do the same thing or similar at the NFL level. TNT Sports, my favorite draft pick. Can't wait to see how they rotate these D linemen around. This is my favorite draft pick also. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him opposite Micah because the beauty of having a guy like this, normally when you draft guys like this, they're coming into a situation where they have to be the guy. So you draft a guy who had 18 sacks last year and 22 tackles for loss, you're kind of expecting him to be your number one pass rusher day one. We don't need him to be that. He's never going to be the center of attention for any offense. So that means we got a guy who's capable of that high production, who's probably at best going to be the third most watched player on the defensive line behind Micah and behind Olsen. So you're going to have this guy basically playing one-on-one with tackle. And he's going to wreak havoc. And if he does it, he's going to start drawing some attention that helps the other guys in front of him wreak havoc. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him play on the next level. Let's see. So just what I saw in the game, he's very strong at the point of attack. He has very long arms. He understands leverage, and he understands how to use his lower base to stay cemented at the line of scrimmage. Um, Talking about his lower base, he always stays square on run plays. So there are some guys who have a tendency to either shoot one side or shoot the other side, and they end up getting out of position. We saw that quite a bit with Dante Fowler when he was here. That's one of his big problems. This kid knows how to use his length to keep tackles off of him and also stay low and stay square and stack and shed so that he can make the play if it's going his way. So he has a very strong understanding for run defense already. I just said he uses his arms to keep tackles off his body. Does a great job of that. One of the things that I looked at that's kind of concerning, he played standing up a lot. Even when they ran traditional 4-3 defenses, he was standing up quite a bit. I didn't get to see him in a three-point stance as much as I liked. So I feel like that's probably going to be a slight learning curve for him. But they may just stand him up and let him play naturally until he can make that transition. One thing I did note, another thing I noticed that concerning. Um, I don't think it'll be a problem because it's something that they can coach out of him. When he's rushing, instead of engaging with the tackles, he sometimes tries to dip and bend and slip blocks. Now, that's a good thing to do. That should be a part of any defensive end's rush package. But to me, he did it way too much. Now, the reason I can see that, he's a college player. Pretty much everywhere he played, he was at worst the second best athlete in the front seven. So if you have that type of athleticism and you're not going against superstars every week, I could understand you just trying to bend and dip and run around the tackles. But when he gets to the NFL level, we need to start seeing more of his pass rush package because he has one. He has a great usage of his length and his hands to keep tackles off of him. So just something to be aware of. I see we got a couple other questions. Got excited about two undrafted free agents, the Syracuse linebacker. I love Justin Barron. I'm shocked that he did not get drafted. And also Elijah Clark, another Syracuse guy. Syracuse, for some reason, they put out great safeties. I don't think Elijah Clark has a chance of making the roster because it's going to be an uphill battle for those undrafted guys. And I put the kid from Kentucky as my top guy to make the roster. But we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when I break down the undrafted free agents. But I love both of these players. Christopher Woods asked, "Do you think Sam Williams will be cut?" I would say absolutely not. He's only in his third year. He's coming off an injury. So the injury gives them a built-in kind of excuse to keep him around for a year. But if he comes back healthy, if we need some possible trade pieces, I would expect Sam Williams to be at the top of that list. So if we go into training camp and we realize, hey, we do need another cornerback or we do need another wide receiver or tight end, I think Sam Williams will be one of the first guys that they ship out. Or if they decide they need an extra fourth or fifth round pick next year, I wouldn't be shocked to see Sam Williams on a short list of guys that we trade away. Jeff asked, will he start or be a situational rotator? Based off of the talent, I would assume that he can start. I think they give Marshawn Nealon every opportunity to earn his spot back because he was the starter last year and he got injured. So I expect Nealon. I also expect um, the defensive end that we signed from the Jets to also get a chance to be the starter. Solomon Thomas. And our defensive line coach, White Cotton, loves Solomon Thomas. He's been with him with San Francisco. When he left San Francisco and went to the Jets, that was the first name he called. And I was watching one of those draft day interviews with Andrew White Cotton, and he said after his last game with the Jets, he walked up to Solomon Thomas's parents, gave them a hug, and said, "I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he has a job with me in Dallas next year." So he loves Solomon Thomas. So for me, Jeff, if it's based off of talent, I think he probably should be the starter. But White Cotton loves Solomon Thomas, and I think Marshawn Nealon should get a fair shot to retain his starting job. So it's gonna be a good competition. This coaching staff has always emphasized we want competition at every position. That's why they don't mind drafting a guy like this at a position where we have other talented players. DJ Dog, longtime watcher, haven't seen your name quite a bit, so thank you for joining us tonight, DJ Dog. Says, I like this pick. He's more versatile than just a pass rusher. You can move him around the line of scrimmage. That's a great point because also we're going to have some NASCAR packages this year because this team is going to be all about speed. So don't be surprised where you see a situation where EZ may be standing up as a linebacker or Micah, switch them around. You have Fowler on the end. You have Nealon inside as a defensive tackle, and you have Osa. So you're going to get some 4, 5 defensive end rush packages that you're going to see this year. And I think having a guy like this is going to be a big part of seeing that. TNT Sports, that's the guy I'm watching. Zion Childress. I would be shocked if he doesn't make the team as a safety. I think he's a better safety than nickel, but he's definitely going to be on this team at one of those spots. Jack Meeker, longtime watcher. Is Sam Williams in the doghouse? You know, if you go back to that draft 2 years ago, Sam Williams was a Dan Quinn pick. Dan Quinn, and I went to Ole Miss. Um, Sam Williams went to junior college with one of my close friends who was the defensive coordinator at his junior college. So I was able to get a lot of intel about this. Dan Quinn loved Sam Williams. He was interviewing high school coaches. He was personally interviewing high school, junior college, college coaches. He went to Ole Miss and worked them out himself. So he was a big Sam Williams supporter. I don't necessarily know how the rest of the organization felt about Sam Williams. So I don't know if he's in the doghouse, but I would say if at some point we need a trade, I wouldn't be shocked if Dan Quinn gets a phone call. And great point, Jack Meeker. Solomon Thomas did get a 2-year deal. Normally, I don't know what name I said, but I thought I said Sam Williams more than Hill. If I didn't, I apologize. Um, Solomon Thomas got a 2-year deal. Normally, for a guy like him, those are normally 1-year deal guys. The fact that he got a 2-year deal lets you know that White Cotton really wants to keep him around. Christopher Wood says if the D line stays healthy, we should be pretty solid with depth. I 100% agree. And we got some more depth coming at the end of this draft that I think would definitely make this roster. And we'll get to that in a minute. We are at 32 minutes. The views are steadily increasing. So thank you guys for joining us. We have our usual group following us from X. So everybody at X, thank you for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying over at X. If you get a chance, swing on over to YouTube so that we can see you guys' comments. But we definitely appreciate your views over on X. And we got quite a few people joining us from my YouTube channel. So thank you guys for watching. I hope everybody watching from my YouTube channel has already subscribed. So I definitely appreciate you guys if you haven't. And if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. All right, so that's our second round pick. And to me, the next 2 or 3 picks just keep getting better and better. So we go to the third round, and we have another gift fall into our laps. And that is Shavon Revel Jr., cornerback from Eastern Carolina University. Jeff asked the question before we talk about Shavon Revel. If we traded Sam to Washington, what would you want from them? I mean, to be honest, think about the trades we've made the past 2 years for former draft picks. You look at the 2 cornerbacks that we drafted, Boss Man Fat and I just went blank. The tall corner we drafted that nobody understood why we drafted. I'm sure somebody put in the comments. But if you look at those players, we kept both of them for 3 years, and then we traded them for positional players. Now, ironically, in both of those situations, we traded a corner for a corner. I don't expect to see the Cowboys do defensive end for defensive end, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Sam Williams traded for a defensive tackle. Nashawn Wright. Thank you, TNT Sport. Yeah. We traded Nashawn Wright for a corner. We traded Boss Man Fat for a corner. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Nashawn Wright. I mean, I'm gonna be shocked to see Sam Williams get traded for a defensive tackle. Maybe for wide receivers still on a rookie deal. I'm looking at you, Green Bay. But in terms of value, I think we probably couldn't expect to get more than a 4th round pick for him. And that would be if somebody like a Dan Quinn really liked him and thought he had a chance to be a special pass rusher. All right, so now we're going back to Shavon Revel. This kid tore his ACL in September. So I know a lot of people are concerned about the ACL. Jack Meeker says if you're going to have to rehab an ACL, Best it happened in September like it did. You read my mind, Jack Meeker. He says I was stationed in Jacksonville. ECU was my local team. So you took the words right out of my mouth, Jack Meeker. He fell to the third round because he tore his ACL in his senior year. Um, he had a first round grade everywhere. At worst, top 40. He fell to the third round because teams had question marks about the ACL tear, and they didn't get to see his 40. Now, luckily for us, the Cowboys team doctor performed the surgery, and he has been rehabbing in Dallas for the past 5 months. So I'm pretty sure that we've had scouts and owners and coaches keeping their ears open to what was going on down the street with his training and his rehab. So I'm pretty sure they have more intel than anybody else does about him. And just like Jack Meeker said, if a guy's gonna tear his ACL in college, it's best it happened in September because a typical ACL tear takes about 9 months to recover from. If you want to slow play it, it'll take a year. So even if we take the full year, that still at worst makes him miss 2 to 3 games. So if you can get a guy first round talent and he joins the team and starts to play early September, that's still a great player to have on your roster. And the way I look at draft picks, to me, draft picks are a crapshoot for a bunch of different reasons. Injuries don't concern me as much. This is 2025. It's not 2005. It's not 1995. ACL surgeries now are a lot less archaic than they were even 10 years ago when they have to pretty much slice your entire leg open and dig around and put stuff together. Now they're just doing small pinholes and they're going in, they're fixing it, and they're giving you a little small zipper. Technology has caught up to a point where if a guy has an ACL tear, it's not going to be the end of his career, and he's not going to lose much, if any, of his athleticism if he's a hard worker. We're talking about you, Trayvon Diggs. So, from what I hear, the kid is hardworking. If you look at his backstory, he was working at Amazon, trying to get on the roster, super athlete, and just outworked everybody to get an opportunity. And it sounds like he did that in college also. Perfect example, Jeff, Adrian Peterson. But yeah, he only played one game last year, Appalachian State. He played 2 games the year before that I watched. When I look at him, athletic freak. I don't know why people can watch his tape and wonder what his 40 is. The kid is fast. He's a prototypical press man corner. If you were to go in a lab and say, make me the perfect body for a cornerback, you're going to make somebody 6'2", long arms, long legs, low percentage of body fat, great hips. That is Shavon Revel in a nutshell. If you look at him from a physical standpoint, he looks a lot like Patrick Surtain Jr. Like height, weight. I don't know about speed, but I would probably guess speed is probably about the same. This kid has all the physical traits you want for a cornerback, along with the dog mentality. So Ben Loving says ran a 4.4 in 2021. I did see that also. I heard he ran a 4.3 when he was trying to try out for the team, but 4.4 for a 6'2" corner, really good. He plays fast and he plays intense. He does not bag down from anybody. He's very good in run support. He's not going to make every tackle, but he's definitely going to make sure he gets in position to try to make the tackle, and he's a willing tackler. Now, I did see him miss a couple of tackles in college, but he was not afraid to get his nose in the box or if he's outside, he was not afraid to shed a wide receiver and try to tackle a running back on a toss or a wide receiver on a sweep. So he's definitely not afraid to try to make tackles. He's definitely a little too aggressive at times. He's definitely an intense type of guy. Another guy that I think is going to be a locker room setter. If you go back and listen to some of these interviews when they talk about the draft picks, you're going to hear keywords like leadership, intensity, changing the room that they're in. You heard it about Tyler Booker. You heard about Donovan Ez. You heard about Siobhan Rebel. So if you have guys at positions that may seem to be a little bit immature, not seem to take the game as serious you would expect, Trayvon Diggs again, they're bringing in guys who can come in and assert that they're here and they're looking to take spots. And I think our first three picks really accomplished that. Um, Kid has great hips. He was built to be a corner. The only problems that I see when I watched him play, for one, he can be too aggressive. But again, when you're 6'2", you run a 4.4, and you know you're a better athlete than the receiver in front of you, you're going to have a tendency to be aggressive. And a couple of times he did give us some big plays just because he let his cockiness get the best of him. He's a small school guy. You look at the teams that I watch, Florida Atlantic, Appalachian State, these aren't powerhouses. So the level of competition was not the best, but he dominated 99% of the time, which is good. Um, Two things I don't have up here. One, he is not I guess what you would consider a ball hawk. He's going to get deflections. He's going to be at the right place, but he's not going to turn them into turnovers. But when you're dealing with press man corners who don't get to watch the quarterback, you're not going to get a ton of interceptions. So um, that leads me to the third thing. He played a lot of man in college. Again, he's 6'2", he runs a 4.4, 33.5-inch arms, great hips. You're going to put him on an island and tell him just go watch that guy. Matt Eberflus runs a cover 2 zone scheme. So he has not run a lot of zone. So there's going to be a transition for him going from a man corner to a zone corner. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. So you got that learning curve, plus coming from a small school, plus sometimes being a little bit too aggressive. I think he's going to be a great player. I think by week 6, week 7, he's really going to flourish. But I wouldn't be shocked those first 3 weeks he plays. There's going to be quite a few growing pains that we have to deal with. So just be on the lookout for that. Let's see. Ben Loving asked the question: does Bland go back to nickel if when both Diggs and Revel are 100%? Great question. I would probably think Bland at nickel is his best position. If we have the guys who can play outside, I think they do try their best to put Bland in the inside because Revel's an outside guy. So if he's healthy, that's one spot taken care of, guaranteed. So now you got Kalen Carson, Kyer Elam, and Trayvon Diggs all kind of competing for that other boundary corner spot. Christopher Wood says Kalen Carson should be in the mix to start if Diggs can't go, right? I would think so because just like Ben Loving asked, where does Bland go? If Bland goes in the slot, now you've got 4 or 5 cornerbacks competing for 2 outside positions. And nobody is guaranteed. Everybody has question marks. Rebel's a rookie, small school with an injury. Trayvon Diggs, you got questions about his injury. Kalen Carson was injured last year and didn't play particularly well. Then you got Mukwamu, who while he's one of the more veteran corners. Whenever he was given opportunities, he did not take advantage of them. And then you got Kyer Elam, who, if you look at height, weight, speed, he has it just as much as anybody, but he's got a lot of bad Buffalo tape. So Kalen Carson's right there in the mix with all of these guys for one of those two outside cornerback spots. And what gives Kalen Carson an advantage over all these other guys, if by chance you want to keep Bland outside, Carson may be the only cornerback that I say can play good at nickel. Diggs, Elam, Mukwamu, they're not good at nickel. So if you want to put Bland outside, Carson's going to be on a shorter list of guys who can play your nickel corner. Let's see. Jack Meeker, what is Carson's best spot? Personally, I don't know. I do think that this scheme fits him very well because he is a cover two zone corner. That's what he played in college, and that's what got him drafted. So I expect him to be much better in a scheme that doesn't put him on an island as much. In college, he played inside, outside. So it's really just all about where they need him at. I don't think he has one spot that he's particularly better at than the other. Jeff says, quick question, who will be the backup slot corner? I would probably guess Bland and then Carson, unless Zion Childress makes the roster, the undrafted free agent. I think he can play some nickel as well, but personally, I see him better as a corner, as a safety, but you can throw him in a short list. And then we also had the guy who got hurt last year, who played really well in the preseason until he got hurt. Again, when I go live, I forget names. So guys, let me know, who was that nickel corner who played really good last year for the Cowboys, and then he ended up getting hurt because there was some talks that he was going to make the roster. Jack Meeker, I always like Izzy. Hope he can step up. Me too. 6'4", not the best athlete, but playing a zone scheme, you don't necessarily have to be the best athlete. You just have to be long and be able to play the ball in the air. So I do like his chances to be improved this year. Kemen Hall. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Kemen Hall is another guy you have to remember. He got a lot of buzz in the offseason, and if he comes back from that injury, I think his injury may be worse off than Trayvon Diggs, but we'll find out when training camp opens. But Kemen Hall is definitely a name you got to watch in that cornerback room. William Wiggins says, are you going to talk about Blue? We're going through one at a time, William, so we're going pick by pick. And actually, I'm pretty much done talking about this third pick. So we did not have a fourth pick. So William Wiggins, you want it, you got it. 5th round pick, Jaden Blue, Texas. He says, feel like him or Javonte gonna be running back one. Let me talk about what I see, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on where he fits in this running back room. Actually, you were right on time, William. You want to talk about Blue, you came at the perfect time. So I watched a lot of Texas games last year. But in terms of just sitting down and focusing all 22, these are the 3 games I watched. I watched Clemson, I watched Arkansas, and I watched Florida. Particularly Clemson because I wanted to watch Blue versus Phil Maffa, which we'll talk about later. So when I watched Jaden Blue play, the explosiveness just jumps off the screen. He ran a 4.38. Now, going back to pre-draft talk, people talking about Golden in that 4.2, whatever he ran, and they say they don't see it on tape. I didn't see it either. With Jaden Blue, I see 4.38. It is explosive, nonstop plays. What I like about him as a running back, his feet never stop moving. So if he's running outside, if he's cutting, If somebody tries to tackle him, his feet never stop. So he's always going to be in movement. So those type of guys are always going to be hard to tackle. Um, he slips through tight spaces. So people talk about his size and can he run inside? He's a great inside runner. If you give him a crease inside the B gap or the A gap, he's going to take it. And he's going to be explosive. So he's always going to be trying to get that home run on every run. And also, he has great contact balance for a guy who's 200 pounds. You can try to tackle him. He's going to put that hand on the ground. He's going to stumble a little bit because his feet keep moving. He's going to gather himself quickly and go right back to full speed. And that takes me to my next point. He accelerates fast. So if you try to tackle him and miss and you stop his momentum, he's bam, bam, bam. He's full speed again. And he's going back downfield. Um, being loving, if somebody makes those shirts, I'm probably going to get one made myself personally, but that shirt is going to sell out like hotcakes. I hope Jerry Jones is watching. Now we got to talk about a couple of the negatives. He's 200 pounds. He is not a good pass blocker. He tries, but when he tries, it does not look good. But swing routes and screens, oh, he's taking those to the house. The other negative, he didn't have a lot of production in college, and people try to knock him on that. So let's do a quick pop quiz while we got everybody watching. Jaden Blue was in college at Texas for 3 years. 2 years ago, I'm sorry, 3 years ago, who was the first running back taken in the NFL draft? I don't want to wait to hear you answer. The answer is the running back who is currently with the Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson. Okay. Who was the first running back taken in last year's draft? That would be the running back from Texas, Jonathan Brooks. So this kid, for 2 of his 3 years, he played behind the number 1 running back in the NFL draft. How do you expect him to touch the field? It's not like he was playing behind some running back who got drafted in the 4th round. That was a good college back and just barely good enough to make the NFL. No, he was playing behind the number 1 running back in the NFL draft for 2 of his 3 years. How do you expect them to touch the field? It's not 100% his fault. He was playing behind some great running backs. So you can say, okay, the production is not what we expected, but Bijan Robinson was a top 10 pick in the year he was drafted. If not for a torn ACL, Jonathan Brooks would have probably been a top 20 pick. He with a torn ACL, this is how talented he was. With a torn ACL, Jonathan Brooks was still the first drafted running back last year. So that lets you know there was some immense talent in front of Jaden Blue. So production, I'm not that concerned about it. Personally, just because of the height and the weight, I don't expect to see him be a number 1 back for this team. I see him being more of a Tony Pollard type, but the coaching staff that we have now won't waste it for 3 years like they did with Tony Pollard. So I think we'll see it right away. I think he's capable of 800 to 1,000 yards year 1. I can see him being a 1,000-yard back and being the number 2 running back on the team. Personally, I think somebody asked a question earlier, made the comment about Williams. I can't remember who it was, but somebody says, I have a feeling Williams is going to be the starting running back. I would agree with you. I think if Javonte Williams is healthy, he's going to be the starting running back this year. It was William Wiggins. Feel like him or Javonte gonna be running back one. I think it's gonna be Javonte. And I think this kid is gonna be coming off the bench right behind him because they love explosive running backs. And I think he gives you a lot in terms of running between the tackles, running outside the tackles, and catching out of the backfield. He can run routes like a wide receiver, not just dump passes and swings. 100% right, Jack Meeker. This kid can do it all in the passing game. I believe he had 700 rushing yards last year, but he also had about 500 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. So he was very active in their passing game last year at Texas. And I fully expect to see that carry over to the NFL. I keep seeing Jahmyr Gibbs comparisons. I know some people will say, well, Jahmyr Gibbs was a first round pick and this kid was picked in the fifth. No, those comparisons are legitimate. Those are some definitely legitimate comparisons. When I talked about this running back group, and I said it before the draft, and I'll say it now, this running back group was so deep that I think where you drafted guys at this year is probably 2 rounds later than any other draft the past 5 years. So if Jaden Blue came out last year, I think he would have been a late second, early third round pick. Just because this draft was so talented, guys just got pushed back 1 or 2 rounds more than a typical draft. Um, TNT Sports, as Longhorns fans, he's deadly in space. It shows on tape. I mean, there's not a lot of games we have production, but when you see the production, he flashes. And putting him in an NFL locker room where they're gonna actually scheme for him to get open, you're definitely gonna see it a lot. Ben Loving said Brooks is cooked. Now they got Hubbard and Pollard. Oh, Brooks plays for the Panthers. So I'm assuming you mean Rico Dowdle and not Pollard. But you're definitely right about that. And I think the Panthers may have drafted another running back this year, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff asked the question, does Dallas still make a swing at Brees Hall? I would lean towards no, but if the right move has not been made to keep the fan base hyped in the offseason, and if the draft capital is low enough, I could see it. But I don't see that as a priority move for the Cowboys. But yeah, preseason's gonna tell it all. Definitely, Jeff. Ben Loving says, feels like they'll misuse him like they treated Pollard while Zeke was running back one and declining. Different coaching staff, Ben. Trust me. If you get a chance, look up interviews with Brian Schottenheimer. Look up interviews with Clayton Adams. If you have any concerns about this coaching staff and what they'll do, just listen to those interviews. I promise you, they're different than any other interviews that you heard in the past. When you go back and listen to the Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy interviews, it's all just vague coach speak. It sounds like Stephen Jones gave them a script and they just read it. Just a bunch of we like our guys and we're gonna try to work hard and be better. No. Schottenheimer's coming out and saying, we're doing this, and this, and I'm looking for this type of guy, this type of guy, this type of guy. They're describing what they want. And if you look at how they drafted, the draft backs up what they said all offseason. So I'm definitely expecting a different feel this year. I don't see like years before where they're gonna let the front office make the coaches play favorites and put certain guys on the field. No. They're getting the guys they want. People are upset about Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. Those coaches targeted those guys for a reason. They want to try something. They drafted Jaden Blue for a reason. They have a plan. I would bet my life on it. William Wiggins saying, "How have we not dropped Deuce Vaughn?" Well, he has one more offseason to find a role. To be honest, looking at this new scheme that I think is going to be, he's going to have an opportunity for success. Now, I don't know if there'll be enough snaps for him to earn them. I would be shocked if he makes the roster, but I would also be shocked if he's not on our practice squad. I think he has a chance to stick around for another year. Jeff says, "I hope we make that pick and swing." It remains to be seen. The deadline for compensatory picks passed on Tuesday, so as of yesterday at noon, we can sign anybody we want, and it won't count towards compensatory picks. So, looking at the Cowboys, they're gonna milk this week because Jerry Jones is all about content first. So you're gonna get a bunch of interviews from Jerry and Steven and Brian and all the draft picks, and you're gonna see videos of all the guys coming in the locker room and being amazed by the star and trying on their jerseys and all that type of stuff. That's gonna be this week. By Friday, first of next week, I think we go back to business as usual. So by I would probably say no later than Tuesday. If we're gonna make any more trades or any signings, that's when I expect them to come. So I know a lot of the fan base is impatient right now, but let Jerry play market man right now, get his content, and then we'll go to business as usual. And I'll say this, and we'll kind of move on. Keenan Allen still hasn't signed yet. Amari Cooper still hasn't signed yet. To me, those are two talented wide receivers that don't have a home. Just pay attention to how long they stick around at home on free agency. Um, William Wiggins, yeah. Every signing, draft and free agency, they got a dog. All of them. All of them are team leaders. All of them are hungry. All of them are ready to compete. They definitely got what they wanted. Jack Meeker says Shotty doesn't do head cases. So yeah, that normal second round pick where you take a flyer on a guy who has some off the field concerns, they didn't do that this year. They got a team captain in EZ. So you can already kind of see the differences happening. Isaiah Bond hasn't been picked up yet. To me, that would have been an old Cowboys favorite type of guy. They're all high character guys, all highly productive. Um, we went back to our big school thing. A lot of guys from big schools, a lot of Texas, Clemson, SEC, ACC, Big Ten. Chavon was just a talent, blinking light, regardless of school. You just had to take him. All right, guys. So we are halfway through the draft right now. So views are still steady. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Let's get those likes matching those views. Also, if you haven't done this already, share the podcast. Share it. Favorite Facebook group. Let the people know what we're talking about. And once again, if you have any questions, you have any comments, be sure, if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube, get in those comments and let me know you guys' thoughts. We got a lot more draft picks to talk about. We're at an hour, 5 minutes, so we're probably going to go over the hour and a half that I expected. But it's a great topic, so I don't mind going over for a great topic. All right, so we are in the fifth round now. So we had a run of a few fifth round picks. Ben Loving saying, I'm thinking Allen and Cooper cost would be too high for Jerry's win the deal approach. They boasted about Jalen Tober recently too. I don't think Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper's contracts are going to be as high as people think they are. I don't expect to see them get paid in the teens. I'll put it like that. If either one of those guys got paid more than $13 million a year, I would be shocked. They're both aging receivers. The production was down a little bit, even though they are still good. And neither one of them are your true go-to receivers anymore. Luckily for us, we don't need a go-to receiver. We just need a quality number two, number three. And I think at this stage of their careers, they can both do that. But a good number two or number three is not gonna max out a contract. Okay, let's see. So we got a couple of fifth round picks to go through. We just talked about Jaden Blue. Let's talk about the other pick. Now, I saw the fan base was happy about this one. For me, it was a head scratcher. That is linebacker Shamar James from the Florida Gators. They actually traded up to get this guy, which to me was even more of a head scratcher. Now, I know the fan base loves him because they saw a couple of highlight clips and they see the size and they think he's just this fast sideline to sideline guy. Now, let me talk about the positives first, then we'll talk about the negatives. Uh, Number one, somebody brought up the point. Schottenheimer he does not do head cases. He's gonna go for high character guys. That's what Jack Meeker said. This is the definition of a high character guy. And remember what I told you guys. Everybody they bring in is going to be a guy who's going to be a leader in the room they're in. This dude is a field general. Turn on any game. I watch Kentucky, Miami, and Tennessee, two SEC schools, and then the big rivalry team because I like to watch guys against a rivalry game because I feel like you're going to get their best because the competition is going to be the highest and most intense. He is a field general. He's hand signaling, he's screaming, he's pointing. If guys are in the wrong position, I've seen him, I believe it was a Tennessee game. The safety was out of place. He literally turned around, saw the safety was in the wrong spot, ran over there, pushed the safety back. No, no, no. Came back to his spot. So this dude, to do that, you have to be smart because that means you know everybody's job. So if you need a cerebral linebacker who's going to call protections, who's going to put guys in the right position, and he's going to demand the respect of you need to go here and you need to do this, there might not be many linebackers better than him. Again, he made all the calls. He does the hand signals. He's yelling. He's pointing. He was commanding on the defensive front seven. He's very good at reading and reacting in space, which is not a surprise because, again, he's clearly a cerebral player to be able to know and understand where everybody's supposed to be. So he's very good at diagnosing plays. Now, here's the problem. He's terrible in the box. He's 6 foot, he's 225. He looks every bit of 6 foot, 225 in the box. If you guys remember how Keanu Neal and Marquise Bell looked at linebacker for the Cowboys, that's how he looks as a linebacker. He consistently got washed out of plays. I mean, he was a tight end's wet dream. Like, you guys know how people say tight ends can't block? No, they had no problems blocking Shamar James. When they saw him in the box, tight ends, run, latch, you're going back 5 yards almost every time. Because he's small and he has short arms, he has a hard job of disengaging from blocks. And don't let a guard or a tackle get to him. They pretty much just picked him up and just moved him. It was bad. I watched 3 games. I watched these 3 games. If you look on the stat sheet, it said he had 4 tackles one game, 6 tackles one game and 7 tackles one game. I watched all 3 of these games, every defensive snap. I counted 2 tackles in 3 games. I wish I could talk to the statistician to find out what they saw to give him those extra 15 tackles, because I counted 2 tackles in 3 games, and those were statistically 3 of his 4 best games, and I counted 2 total tackles because whenever he was in the box, they was just washing him out, and if it was in the open field, he read it, but it was hard for him to get there because he's not as athletic as you would expect a 220-pound linebacker to be. So if you're looking for a cerebral guy, I can see him as we need a special teams captain. Now, for a special teams captain, playing in space, not a lot of big guys in front of you. You need a new up back. You need an L3 on kickoff. This is the type of guy I can see you using the 5th round pick for, because you would hope he can be your special teams ace day one. But in terms of a defensive linebacker, if that's what they picked him for, they wasted a pick. And I hate to be harsh. I'm just going by what I see. I do not see this guy having an opportunity to play on defense. He has to be a core special teams guy. Ben Loving saying trading up for Shamar James was that selectively aggressive type move. I like it. Go get your guy. If it's for special teams, I don't see him being productive on the defense. Jack Meeker says he might take Overshown's rep. No, no, no. I just don't see it. Jeff says he would have gone wide receiver with this pick. I can't blame you, Jeff, but let me just look really quick to see what was available when the Cowboys made that pick. So he was in the 5th round. Let me just look really quick just so I can know for myself. Let's see. 5th round, Shamar James. The next wide receiver taken was Keandre Lambert Smith. I could have passed up on him. Torrey Horton from Colorado State, decent receiver. I'm just looking through the names. The next 4 receivers, there were no receivers taken in the 6th round, surprisingly. Oh, LaJohntay Webster from Colorado, no. Jimmy Horn Jr. I mean, I'm looking, Jeff. I don't see any receivers I would have taken, honestly. Tez Johnson from Oregon, maybe would have considered him. But yeah, I remember at that point, I would have gone, I would have probably double dipped at running back at that point. Even though we had just taken Blue 3 picks before. I mean, I like Maffa, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But I would have probably taken a defensive tackle like J.J. Piggies, or I would have taken Devin Neal. But I'm not upset with Maffa. I'm not upset with Maffa. Let me see. Justin Barron, special teams guy, 670 snaps on teams and good. I agree with that. Let's see. He's a Justin March Lillard or Luke Gifford type player. I mean, Justin March Lillard was a great special teamer. Luke Gifford was just a so-so player. So if you're saying JML, that sounds good for him, Luke Gifford. Honestly, I don't see how Shamar James makes the roster unless he's just great at special teams. I didn't like the pick, and I certainly didn't see the need to trade up for him. All right, so keep going through the draft. I believe we had another 5th round pick, and we used that on surprisingly another offensive lineman. So the next pick made, I believe, was Johnny Cornelius, and I'm probably going out of order here, but we're down to the last 3 or 4 picks. Uh, the Cowboys surprisingly picked the tackle out of Oregon. I was talking to my friend Jeff about this during the draft, and I said they listed him as a guard when they drafted him, and I said he's probably going to be a right tackle. When I watched the tape, and again, I watch Ohio State. They played Ohio State twice. Ohio State had 2 draftable pass rushers. Oregon State, that's a rivalry. UCLA was another big game. So I got a lot of good looks at him in these 3 games. If he makes the team, he's 100% a guard. He cannot play tackle. He plays extremely tall. His feet are slow. His hands are slow. He's just an overall slow player. I don't know how he survived in college as a tackle. Well, I know how he survived in college as a tackle because if I look at the next 2 things, again, 6'5", 310, 34.5-inch arms, long arms, great 10 1/4 inch hands, great hands, great grip strength. If he gets his hands on a player, that player is done. The problem is he's so slow that he has a hard time getting his hands on players. Now, maybe if you move him inside the guard where you got a bigger player, a little bit slower, and he's able to use those long arms and that great grip strength, and he has a strong lower body. So just like Tyler Booker, he's able to sit down on rushes. So if he can grab you and you try to bull rush, if he can get his hands on you, you're done. He's gonna sit down, he's gonna hold you right there, and you're pretty much just right here until the whistle blows. There's no releasing once he gets you. The problem was, I would probably say more than 50% of the time he was not able to get his hands on guys because he was just too unathletic. Now, again, I can't see him playing tackle. Maybe I watched 3 bad games. I don't think so. Maybe they try him out at tackle in college, I mean in the NFL. I think he's another guy at guard. I think he's a project guy where the team says, "You know what? I like the traits. Um, let's bring him in. Let's see if we can slip him on practice squad, and let's develop him." When you have a offensive lineman coach as an offensive coordinator, this is what you end up with. He's gonna see guys with traits that he likes, and because all coaches have that mentality that every play call I make is great, and every player I get my hands on, I can make him an all-pro, you're gonna get a guy who reaches for a player to have the chance to develop him into something good. Maybe Clayton Adams is good enough to do it. We saw what he did with Will Hernandez, but I don't see it. I didn't see the pick. Even if you do put him at guard, I mean, I don't see him beating any of these guards out. Best case scenario for him, you hide him, you cut him, you put him on practice squad for a year, and then maybe a year or 2, you have a quality backup guard. I don't know. Let's see. Jeff said this was a head scratching pick. I agree. Um, it was even more head scratching than Shamar James. I mean, I don't like the player, but I can understand why you took him because he's definitely a smart player. Maybe you can help him bulk up, show him some technique, help him better inside, or he can be your special teams guy. This guy, I don't see it. I don't know why they took him. He's not playing guard because, like you said, Jeff, we have enough guards, and I just don't see the traits to play tackle. I just don't see it. All right, so the last 2 picks have been kind of depressing. Let me go ahead and pick it back up a little bit. We are at an hour and 20 minutes. We're almost done. The next 2 picks, and I know I've gone out of order, but it's for good reason. because these next 2 picks to me are A pluses. So, next pick, Jay Toia, defensive tackle, UCLA. This was my second favorite pick in the draft behind Donovan Ez. 7th round pick. I would be shocked if he doesn't make this roster. And I think he has a good chance of being a day one starter. That's how much I like this kid. Watched him at USC rivalry game, and I purposely chose Iowa and Minnesota because Big Ten schools, big offensive linemen in the inside. I wanted to see how he competed against the big nasties because Pac-12 isn't known for having big physical guards, but those big Midwest cold weather schools like Iowa and Minnesota, they're going to have some big dogs that's going to go out there and bark with them. So when I look at him, and Jack Meeker, you said it, 340 pounds, but he's nimble. He has a rugby background, soccer background, great feet, great first step, surprisingly great first step for his size. Uh, I didn't put this in my notes, but he has a great feel for reading the snap. So if you guys watch Mozzie, he's the anti-Mozzie. Like if you watch Mozzie play, Mozzie is always the last person off the snap. Jay Toia, first person off the snap. He has a great feel for reading the center and timing that snap to get off the ball quick. He has a relentless motor. He's definitely one of those Tongan players, just high energy, intense, never going to give up on the play. Never gets pushed back, especially if you're blocking him one-on-one. If you're double teaming him, you can maybe push him off his mark by pushing him horizontally, but you're not pushing him backwards. He has a great center of gravity. He has great upper and lower body strength. Some of the things that I do notice that are kind of concerning. Number one, he gets tunnel vision a lot. Now, I don't know if that's part of the scheme or if that's his personality because they do have a penetrating defense. And when I say tunnel vision, what I mean is he has a tendency, if he's lined up as a 3 tech or a 2, head up on a guard or at an angle, he's going to take that guard and he's going to push him back 5 yards. Now, in the midst of that, he leaves a hole where he was supposed to be at. So he'll whoop a guard, but if that running back times it right, he has a gap to run through. Now, again, I don't know if that's scheme fit and that linebacker's supposed to fill the gap, but he does that quite a bit. But when he does it, he's winning. Trust me. He has an above average knowledge of how to use his hands to disengage from blockers. Defensive tackles, just like offensive interior linemen, 2 things that it takes them time to learn. One is how to get NFL strength. I think he has enough of that. The other one is how to use your hands to disengage. I think he has enough of that to have a good starting point. Again, relentless motor, doesn't mind chasing down runners. So if he's on the backside of a play, he does not mind, even though he's a big guy, he doesn't mind trying to run and grab the play from behind, which is something you always want to see from your nose tackles. Another thing, when I talk about tunnel vision, yeah, his linebacker was the best in this year's draft too. Yeah, you're right. Schlesinger, the linebacker from UCLA. Now watching the tape, again, I just said, I don't know if it's scheme or not, but these defensive tackles made that linebacker look really good. I'll just say that. Um, that I don't want to take anything from the linebacker, but those defensive tackles have to be given some respect for how they helped him to look the way he did. Now, another thing that I didn't like, I talked about the tunnel vision. He does have a tendency to either take one side or the other. And what I mean by that is instead of consistently going straight through the guard's face, he may go inside and just hard inside. Now, he's gonna beat the guy. Again, the problem is though, if if I'm a guard and the nose tackle is lined up right here, if he shoots right here and the play was gonna run on this side, you're doing me a favor. Because if you go like this, I'm gonna turn and now all of this is open for a running back to go right behind me. He does do that sometimes. But overall, really good player. That's something you can teach out of a guy. Because again, I don't know if that's what the scheme dictated or if it's him just saying, you know what, I know I can beat this guy and just destroy him if I choose a side. I'm gonna do it. He doesn't have to do it. He's that talented. So I'm really excited about seeing him in training camp. All right, I see we got a Bears fan joining us again today. So thank you for tuning in. Also, we did have a good draft. You guys did also. Got another good wide receiver to go with your receiving core. Got a great tight end. We talked about that. We chose the wrong tight end during our mock draft, but you guys definitely got one. Uh, I think you guys got a tackle too, if I'm not mistaken. So overall, good draft by the Bears. All right, so we got one more pick to talk about. Well, we got two more, but unfortunately, I do have the screen for him. Okay, so next draft pick, and I know the fan base was in love with this pick. Jack Meeker, you're right. He's gonna have him two gapping and clog the middle. So next pick, Phil Maffa, running back from Clemson, 6'1", 230 pounds. That big explosive running back that I know the team loves to get. Now, I'm a little bit torn on this pick. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but I follow three teams closely in college football. Ole Miss, because I went to Ole Miss. Missouri, because I'm a Missouri fan, and Clemson. Big Clemson fan. So I've watched literally every game Clemson has played for the past 15 years. I've seen this kid a lot. Now, when I watch, I'm watching from a fan standpoint and not from an analyst standpoint. So my initial views and the views I got when I really watched the All 22 are completely different. Some of it's the same, but watching from an All 22 perspective, I like the kid a whole lot more than I did before. And Jeff will attest to that because I was kind of bad mouthing him on Saturday. So the three games I paid attention to were Georgia, Wake Forest, and Florida State. This is one thing that's just evident. He runs extremely high. He is a straight up runner. Even in his stance, he's standing straight up. On the 1 yard line, he's running straight up. Running inside the tackles, he's running straight up. For me, that's concerning for a big running back because you're giving them a big window to hit. You're giving them a lot of space. Now, I'm concerned, and I see my internet starting to go down, so it may freeze up. So if it does, it may go out for like 30 seconds. Do not leave. We're at the last two players, please. That's concerning. I don't know a lot of running backs who have success when you're running straight up like that. But when I look at all the other traits, I start to feel a lot better about it because this kid accelerates quick for a 230-pound back. He does not need 3 or 4 steps to get to full speed. He gets to 2 steps and he's already gone. He's a great straight line runner, which is to be expected for a big running back like this. Now, I say he accelerates quickly. He has 1 speed, and it's 4.5, but he's gonna hit it quick. He has no second gear. If you're fast enough, you can walk him down, but he's fast enough and quickly accelerating enough where he can make some big plays if given a lot of opportunity. Now, I noticed at Clemson, he ran out of shotgun a lot. He ran a few times out of a single backfield. To me, he looked a lot better running behind the center, behind the running back, behind the quarterback. In the NFL, he's gonna run like that a lot more. So that makes me think we're gonna see an even better player than we saw in college. He doesn't catch the ball a lot, but when he did, I think he had about 5 catches between these 3 games. He's a natural hand catcher. He's not a guy who's gonna fumble with the ball. It doesn't have to hit him in the chest. He can easily catch the ball in stride and tuck it in and run with it. So that's a plus because I think in this scheme, you're gonna have to run the ball and catch the ball. He's a patient runner, which was surprising. They did a lot of trap plays where the guard will pull or the tackle will pull, and he has to get the ball, wait for that tackle to come make his block, and then explode. And again, he ran patient and he accelerates quickly. So once that block gets made, it only takes him 2 steps and he's full speed. And he also follows blockers well. So if you give him a good block, he's gonna do something with it. Unlike what we saw with Rico Dowdle last year. While Rico had a good year, Rico left a lot of meat on the bones because he was not able to follow his blockers. A lot of times he overran his blockers. Phil Maffa won't do that. He's gonna wait for that block to get made that's gonna get him open. And he's gonna do a great job of using that stiff arm to try to avoid defenders. Now, if it's him and the linebacker in the hole, good luck good luck for him, not the linebacker, because he's gonna be a big open target for any defensive player. But Jack Meeker says the Giants had a back in the day straight up runner. Brandon Jacobs. Now, Phil Maffa's not nearly as big as Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs was about 255. Phil Maffa's about 230, 225, 230. I'm conflicted. I think he should make the roster. But if they keep 4 backs, I think Blue, Sanders, and Williams are all secured. Deuce has a slight chance to make the roster. Slight. But I think Maffa will probably make the roster. I don't expect to see much out of him. I think he'll give us some good previews in the preseason, but I can see this being the type of guy where you find a way to hide him for a year, and then in year 2, after Sanders and or Williams are both gone, then you got your Thunder and Lightning and Maffa and Blue. So there's a lot to like here. I just wish he wouldn't run straight up like he does. They got to teach him to lower his shoulders and get his pad level down, or he's going to take a lot of really big hits on the NFL level. All right, last player of the night, last pick of the draft, and that is Tommy, and I'm sure I'm about to butcher his last name, Akinbisote. I saw it about 2 or 3 different ways, so I don't really know how it's fully pronounced. But Tommy Akinbisote from Maryland, defensive tackle. I'll be honest, I've been watching a lot of games over the past 72 hours. And to literally watch 30 full games is a lot. By the time I got to Tommy, I could only watch 2 games before I went live. So I watched Villanova and Minnesota. I heard Andrew Whitecotton talk about this kid a lot in interviews. He said he was shocked that they got him in the 7th. He thought he would have been gone 2 rounds ago. So that lets me know Whitecotton really likes him as a player. 6'3", 330 pound, 325, 330-pound guy, so he's a big guy. When I watched him play, he played a lot of 4-eye and 5 tech. I did not expect to see him play outside as much as he did. Um, I I I rarely saw any snaps where he played as a 1 tech or a 3 tech closer to the center. Everything he played was either head up on the guard or outside the guard. So, um, I project him at Dallas to be a backup nose or even a backup 3 tech. I don't see him being used as a 4 tech or a 5 tech. So maybe they see something I don't because on tape he never played inside of the guards. Extremely long arms. Another guy, 33 and 3/4 inch arms. Hands are 10 inches. Um, he knows how to use his hands to keep guards at bay. So he keeps guards off his body, which is a good thing for a big guy. He has really good feet. When I looked up research on him, it said he grew up playing soccer and basketball. You can definitely tell he was a big basketball guy growing up as a kid. He has really good feet for a guy that's 320. Um, I think he can play some 3 tech. I think he's athletic enough to play 3 tech. But one of the concerns for me, when I look at him, he reminds me of the defensive tackle that we just Philip, the guy from Buffalo that we traded for. I can't think of his name. He played 2 games and he looked terrible, and then he got injured and eventually got cut. Jordan Phillips, that's his name. That's who he reminds me of when I look on tape. Just a big, nimble defensive tackle that plays like a small 3 tech. He always rushes outside and works his way inside instead of trying to go straight through the guard or go inside. He's always outside in, which if you're a guy that big, you expect him to want to get his nose dirty a little bit and get inside the dog piles, but he doesn't. He always plays outside in. Um, has a lot of agility though, so he's definitely a bit of a freak athlete. Um, he has a very unusual stance if you look. He almost looks like a I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. Okay, Amanda's not here. So, like, if you look he has a stance like an offensive lineman almost, like a dog taking a crap type stance. You don't normally see that on defensive guys. Normally with defensive guys, you see them more like this because they're trying to fire off. He sits more like this. So it's almost like this is his head and this is his butt. And he sits like this instead of like that, like he's trying to fire off. So I thought that was unusual. Um, I don't see how a defensive lineman can get the leverage or explosiveness they need in the NFL with a stance like that. So hopefully that's something that they can change once they get him here. He does a good job of stacking and shedding when he does get leverage. So when I say stack and shed, that means stack, ball snap, hands are here. You control them. You look for the running back. If the running back goes outside, shed. If the running back goes inside, shed. He does a good job of that. Unfortunately, he starts off his stack and shed rushing from the outside. So it's almost like he's putting himself in a disadvantage if the running back's running inside because instead of being here, he's here and he has to come all the way over here to shed the guards. Now, because of that, if he doesn't win off the snap, he's easily eliminated by one guy. So For that reason, another reason I see him more as a 3 tech than a nose, because he gets he gets bullied a little bit one-on-one by guard if he doesn't win off the snap. Now, luckily for him, he wins off the snap more times than not. In the NFL, he will not have that luxury. So he definitely needs to work on his technique, and the traits are there. 6'4", 325, long arms, big hands, naturally strong. Um, you can definitely see the dog in him when he plays. So I think this is another one of those project guys that a guy like Andrew Whitecott may have liked. Find a way to stash him for a year, work on his techniques, get all the rough edges off, and then in 2026 see what you have when some guys like Amazi Smith and backups start to leave the roster, and you need the young guys to fill in. All right, so that's pretty much all I have. We've gone through all 9 Cowboys draft picks. If you guys have any other questions before we get out of here, please let me know. We're at 1 hour 42 minutes. The views were pretty constant all night, so thank you guys for watching at X, YouTube, and on Facebook. I hope you guys enjoyed what we talked about tonight. Hope you guys learned something. I hope I was able to confirm some of the things that you didn't see, or if I brought up something you didn't see, I hope I inspired you to go back and look for yourself and see if I was right or wrong about that. Because to me, this was an above average draft. Unfortunately, we did not take a wide receiver like some people expected. And I know I keep seeing Jeff make the comments like I would have taken Bun in that spot. I probably would have also, but like Jack Meeker said before, this coaching staff is not going to take a chance on head cases. So I can see why they didn't take him. Maybe if he gets cleared, they bring him in. But outside of a guy like Bun, there was not a receiver taken outside of the second round that I think would have made an impact more than the guys we took, except for the tackle from Oregon. But I wouldn't have gone receiver there. I would have gone another position. But it's not a lot of people out there at wide receiver who I think are special enough that, oh, we didn't take so and so in the 5th round. It's a terrible draft. No, I don't see that. So football freak, I was unable to see this from the beginning. Maybe next time we could still get a veteran wide receiver. I would assume by the next time we go live that we will have a veteran receiver. So be sure to join us next Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the 5th Quarter podcast. We'll probably be doing undrafted free agents if we have not made a bunch of free agent signings. For you guys who've been following me for the past couple of years, I normally have Professor O join me for undrafted free agents. He was here a couple of weeks ago talking about his favorite wide receivers. So maybe I can get him back again to talk about the undrafted free agents, because we have a lot of corners, a lot of receivers, and a lot of tight ends. And those are all in his wheelhouse. So be sure to join us next Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the 5th Quarter podcast. Also, for you guys who say that you missed the show from the beginning, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central, I will be going live on another podcaster show. He reached out to me this morning and asked me if I can go through the draft picks with him. So I'm going to be saying a lot of stuff that I said tonight. So if you guys can go on X and find Aaron B, I will be on live with Aaron B tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time. I'll probably multi-stream to my platform as well. So unfortunately for everybody watching from DC4L, you probably won't be able to see me tomorrow night. But if you can, after the show, go in the comments, find that YouTube link, hit that subscribe button, and you can join us tomorrow night and talk some more Cowboys draft picks. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely appreciate all your support. TNT Sports, I definitely appreciate that. Put a lot of work in on this, and I hope you guys got something out of it. Um, let's just keep the ball rolling. The off season is officially here, so every week we're gonna have more and more to talk about. We're gonna roll into mini camps. We're gonna roll into training camp. We're gonna roll into the fourth wave of free agency. We're gonna roll into preseason, and eventually, before you know it, we'll be right back here week one to talk about the Cowboy season. And we still haven't done the schedule show yet. So a lot of content to talk about this off season. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate you tuning in. TNT Sports says can't wait to have you on. Send me a link or send me a comment. DM me. Let me know. We can definitely talk. I always love to collaborate and talk to different Cowboys podcasters. We are a fairly tight knit group for the ones of us who still are considered grassroots and try to put out good content more than just content. Still a lot of us out there, so I hope you guys continue to follow guys like myself and some of these other guys who are giving you guys real content and not um, front page stories and fake controversies. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Always appreciate your support. And as always, let's go Cowboys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow when I join Aaron B on his podcast. Have a good night, guys.